Hey everybody, this is Lonnie with Borderline. Today we're going to go through a little video explaining the types of Portland cement to use in your landscape curbing. This is to help those guys that are just getting started in the business because they have some questions on regarding the different types and if there's really any differences between them. First thing we need to go through is we really need to start about talking about hydration first. Hydration is the chemical process by which the water and the components in your cement form bonds with water molecules, and that's called hydration. So once you mix your sand with your Portland and you add that water, that chemical reaction in there with the water causes that to stick together. And as that water evaporates, that starts your curing process. So they're going to reference hydration when we talk about the different types. So just to make sure you know what the whole process is. Now, number one, your type 1 Portland cement. It's generally known as your common general purpose cement. It's commonly used for general construction, especially when making precast or pre-stressed concrete. That it's not typically going to be in contact with the soil or groundwater. Now that doesn't make sense, obviously, with curbing. Curbing is on the ground, so just straight type 1 Portland may not react well to just being on the surface of the ground. So typically what they do is type 1 and 2 are put together. So this is the most common type of Portland that's going to be sold in the United States. Depending on where you're located, and I'll explain it a little bit later, but depending on where you're located, 9 times out of 10, your box stores, let's say like Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards up north here, some of those big stores are going to have Portland that's going to say type 1/2. It's just a combination of both types. Type 2 is going to give you, less heat during hydration. If you want to read this along with me here, it costs about the same as type 1. So when they mix them together, type 2 is going to help you more with the sulfates in the soil. So when your curb is obviously laying on the dirt, it's going to help with those sulfates, in different soil types. So your concrete can cure better, and you're not going to have those issues as much with getting efflorescence on your curb and things like that. So type 1, type 2 basically are put together, and for us here in Bismarck, that's all they sell at Lowe's is type 1, type 2 Portland. Now there's some different specific ones, different type of mixtures for doing countertops and things like that. But again, now you're mixing these on site. You're going to use your Portland along with your aggregate, which is going to be your sand, and so on. So type 1, type 2 is going to be by far the most common, and that is perfect to use for curbing. Now, when I used to live in southern Nevada, which is obviously in the desert, we were outside Las Vegas for a long, long time. The only Portland that they sold there was type 2, type 5. Now, if you read through what type 5 is, it's a combination between the two. And, real quick through here, type 5 is really, really going to give you a lot better resistance when it comes to alkaline soil, a lot of groundwater and sulfates and things like that. So it's going to help you a lot more with that type of soil. Typically where you're at, type 1, type 2 is going to be the most common type, and that's going to be perfect for you. Let's talk about bags now, bag sizes. They have 94-pound bags. I think they're actually 92 point something, but commonly people just call them 94-pound bags. And then also your 47s. 94-pound bags are obviously going to be a little bit more difficult to handle, pretty heavy, and you're going to have to cut them in half on your normal mixes. Okay, just a normal mixer, 9 cubic foot mixer, you're going to do a half bag to your sand and so on. 94-pound bags overall are going to be cheaper than 47s. So, for example, a 47-pound bag in certain areas of the country might cost you $9. So 2 of those bags are going to be $18. A 94-pound bag, you might be able to buy that whole bag for, let's say, $12. So it's going to be cheaper. So a lot of guys will go ahead and get the bigger bags because they're saving a little bit of money. But in the long run, or on the other end, the amount of labor it takes to lift those around, plus you're going to have to cut those bags in half to use them for half mixes. So the amount of labor and the amount of time really doesn't make up for the price difference, in my opinion. All we deal with is 47-pound bags. It's going to be a lot easier, even though it costs us a little bit more on the front end. It actually saves us more time and more labor on the back end. So those are the different types of Portland, and you're not going to have any issues with type 1, type 2. Even if you're in the desert Southwest or some areas of the country, type 2, type 5 is going to be just fine for you. And you know, take a look at some of the other videos on what kind of sand and chemicals to use with those Portlands, different types of Portland cements. But go ahead and take a look at our YouTube page. We have a whole ton of videos on there. Curbuniversity.com also has our separate training videos. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you following us, and we'll see you on the next.